Hey everybody, this is Rustin Rose with Metalholic Magazine and Metal Nation Radio, and joining us this fine Monday night, Mr. Alex Skolnick of Metal Allegiance and of course Testament. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
I am doing fantastic. I think my ears are still recovering from the St. Patty's show that you guys did Thursday night in Boise. Thank you.
Oh, that was fun. Yeah. Great crowd that night.
Great crowd. It was packed in there. I assume the tour is going well.
It's going great. We're down to the last week. It went by really fast. It's been great. It's been really smooth. Slayer is just a very pro organization, and everything. We've it's just gone without any snags. Knock on wood.
Fantastic. And I talked to Eric about a month ago. He said as soon as you guys are done, back in the studio to knock on the next album. So, And since I already talked to Eric about Testament, we're going to talk about Metal Allegiance today. That's what we're here for. So tell me, how did Mark Mangy sort of corral the three of you, Dave and Mike, into the Metal Allegiance project? Because it started out as sort of a collective of well-known players doing covers. So how did it come down to sort of the core four and the decision to record original songs?
Yeah, I don't know. He just had this vision of that working. And I think, there had been a few performances of, it had a different name at one time, and I had never played. I knew all the guys, of course, and so there's a dog barking around. I knew all the guys, but I played with them for the first time on the Motorhead cruise,
right?
The year before last, and we just hit it off. And I know they had already toyed with the idea of doing a record, but just kept, I think we put it aside because just, not sure how to go about it, who would they work with, and so on. And then somehow once we clicked, it made sense. And they called me and said, do you want to give this a shot? And I said, sure. And just instantly, it just worked together like a glove.
Nice.
And that's, it's hard to believe it's been, barely 2 years since the whole idea started.
Now, you guys actually, if I understand correctly, you guys actually got together and worked on the songs as a unit, right? This wasn't a emailing Pro Tools tracks back and forth sort of thing, right?
Absolutely. We set aside time. I mean, the first writing session took place during the holidays in 2014. And we were, just, locked in a man cave at Mike Portnoy's house. And, that's how we spent our days. We just set aside several days to just do it old school. Just come up with music, just jam, record everything, listen back, try to arrange it as best we could. And then we ended up having another session like that a few weeks later, and within a really short time we had all the music, and we just made steps to record it as a small group, and then later piece in the guests, the vocalists and the guest guitarists, and a couple of guest bassists too.
Well, and as you just alluded to, you guys have a huge extended family on the debut record. How did you just sort of decide who to reach out to for the various parts?
Well, I think as the song would come together, we would just imagine it a certain way. We would imagine certain vocalists here and there. We thought, okay, Mark Osagueda, he'd sound great on this tune. Chuck Billy, he would sound great on this tune. Hey, what about a female voice on this? Okay, let's get Christina from Coil. And then, same with the guitar part. A song like Pledge of Allegiance, it has this breakdown. And I knew I want a solo one. I'm calling that. And that was a great thing about being a core writer of this project. I reserved my guitar parts. But then we had this whole other fast, heavy part, and we thought, okay, who's going to play that? Well, that would be perfect for Gary Holt. And a lot of the parts came together like that. I imagined doing a solo here, but we could put Phil Demmel on this track, or we could put, the song, the instrumental with, seven of us total. So it just, I think, once we had the core of each tune, it just came together. Just like, you do it in phases. You start with like a good groove, and then you develop the riff, and then you think about vocal melodies, or if it's an instrumental song, instrumental melodies, and it just all, it just comes together piece by piece.
Nice. And now, did I understand this right? You actually handled the vocal tracking on the record?
Not all of it. Each of us, we sort of took on a few different tunes to both write lyrics to, and I did come up with a lot of the vocal melodies. And there were a couple cases where I would do demos. I say this often, I wouldn't hire myself as a metal frontman, but I can come up with the parts. So I could come up with guide versions of them. I did that on a few songs, and Mike Portnoy actually did that on a couple parts as well. And then that just sort of that was something we could give to the singers and just say, here, you can take this and sort of, use this as a starting point. And then, some of them ended up different than how like, I don't have a tone like Mark Osegueda at all.
Right.
But I know his tone, so I did it more like talking. But then I worked with him in the studio, and I just imagined his certain tones that he gets, but then the tune with Matt from Trivium, he did it surprisingly close to the way I had done it, but with his voice, it worked so well. Each song is a whole world in itself. So you just, you do these things one song at a time. How you do one song might have nothing to do with how you do a different song.
Well, I was wondering if that, because obviously you're this legendary guitar player, but was that sort of a new challenge for you to sort of be doing that?
Yeah, definitely. Because, usually with Testament, there's, Eric's the sort of the core guy. It's, his tone you hear, live, obviously it's both of us.
Right.
But there, with Testament, my role is more soloist. And here I got to be soloist, but also the core guy. And some of the tunes, had like walls of guitars, like you could imagine, inspired by, say, Priest, Maiden, Metallica.
Right.
Even though Metallica's wall of guitar is really one guy. That's really Hetfield. But then there were others where, I thought about, how Randy Rhoads approached riffs for his brief time in Ozzy. Those are just great riffs and great, and Van Halen too. So I just kind of got to really explore all these different elements. And even Naomi, actually, like our song, Dying Song, it's definitely rhythm-wise, it's inspired by Naomi. So that's like a completely different feel that I've never gotten to record before.
Yeah, it's got to be sort of cathartic for you to be able to do something so completely unique from what you're normally doing.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I mean, obviously, I'm very proud of the work I do with Testament, but it's also nice to have a song where, if I'm demonstrating my work to somebody, I don't have to say, okay, wait, 2 minutes in, okay, right here, here's where I come in. It's like, everything you're hearing is me.
So was there, because I know a lot of the stuff you guys already had together when you started doing this, but was there any song on the album that sort of took on a life of its own once you got in the studio that sort of surprised you with like, wait, we weren't expecting it to do that?
Well, I think, by the time we tracked everything in the studio, we pretty much knew what was happening. I mean, we would make some changes. We'd say, okay, you know what, after living with this for a while, maybe the vocals should come in sooner.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or maybe this part happens one too many times, or, I actually really like this part. Maybe this needs to happen more. I mean, things like that. That's a normal part of the process. Right. So, Yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of development that happened in the studio, but most of it was pretty close to how we mapped it out. Of course, once we started adding vocals, then it just took on a new life of its own. Like I remember, hearing we were actually tracking with Mark Osagueda, and Christina did her tracks in Italy. Yeah, a few of the vocalists tracked with us. In the studio. Randy Blythe came to New York, not Mark Osagueda, as I mentioned, but Christina lives very far away, so she did her tracks in the studio. And I remember they came in, and it was the same day we were working on that song with Mark. And when I heard it, it got goosebumps. It was so amazing. And then I remember when Chuck first sent his vocal parts, Mark Mengy just freaking out, jumping up and down, high five. Yeah. And that song was, his baby. So he had Can't Kill the Devil. Like he had envisioned the lyrics a certain way, and Chuck just knocked it out of the park. So that was the surprise, if anything, was just hearing the vocal parts and just hearing the vocals come together, and then really just giving the songs their stamp of identity.
Well, and Christina Scabbia has such an amazingly beautiful voice. She just really adds so much to that song. And I was going to add,
composer, it's great to write for a voice like that, as well as writing for a heavy voice. But it's like having different instruments to work with. It's almost like what if I was writing for say like a thrashy voice, it's more like a saxophone, and then Christina's voice would be more like writing for a violin. It was like, really getting to explore a different texture. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So I have to ask about one of my favorites on the record, which is Let Darkness Fall, because you've got Randy Blythe and Troy Sanders singing. Rex Brown comes in and plays bass on that one. You have these amazing guitar parts, especially the acoustic interlude you did.
Thank you.
It's all very dynamic. Tell us about that track.
Well, it was actually a couple different songs together. The main riff was one of the riffs that we'd come up with just while jamming together. I think Portnoy played the groove. Mm-hmm. He just wanted to do a song with that type of feel, and I came up with just sort of developed it while he was playing it, and pretty much all those parts with that groove we came up with those in the same session, and then we were working on some different ideas. Actually, we didn't even have. We were in a different room without drums. We were just playing, just jamming on guitars and bass. And then I guess Mark had that idea for the middle section. That was an old riff of his that he had from a previous band, and he just sort of threw that out there. And that it was just to see maybe it was going to be an intro for a new song. And then we just thought, okay, well, we have those great heavy riffs, which we can imagine for Troy, for Mastodon. What are we going to do with that song? Where is it going to go? What if it? And I think originally it might have been in a different key too. So we just sort of adjusted the keys to see if it worked together. But it was really like a matter of putting, parts that could have been different songs together. But it was also a little bit inspired by, Master of Puppets, the idea of stopping in the middle of a heavy song, going into a ballad, and then building it back up.
It came out so organically, it felt like when you're a listener just listening to the whole thing. So.
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, you want it to sound like it couldn't have been imagined any other way.
All right, so before we get out of here, I got two or three more questions, just sort of for fun. Give us a good behind-the-scenes story, because you had so many great personalities working on this album. It had to be ridiculous.
Right. Well, I mean, actually, like I said, the core of it was done with this small group of us. But then, we would bring in people, and then some of the guest tracks were done remotely. But let's see, there was a funny story. A lot of it's so much of it was captured on video. Like if you buy the deluxe package, you get the DVD.
Oh, nice.
And there was we went out to dinner. Mike lives in this very small town in Pennsylvania, and there isn't much. There's like one shopping center, and there's a restaurant called the Red Robin, which is a chain.
Right. And
we ate there, and the waitress asked us if we've ever heard of the Narcoleptic Goats. And it turns out that was her son's band. And we just couldn't stop laughing. The Narcoleptic Goats. That was a funny story. And then there's another scene of us like walking through the supermarket trying to buy beer. I mean, only Mark and I are the drinkers. And it was very hard to find alcohol. Weird. But all of that's captured in the video.
Well, I'm going to have to go get my copy of that now because I have just the initial ones.
Oh, yeah, you got to watch that.
Yeah. So now we know Mark Osagueda sort of warms up his voice with Journey songs. As a guitarist, I know when I pick up the guitar, my fingers sort of absent-mindedly play certain licks on autopilot. Cat Scratch Fever forever haunts me. Do you do that as well? Are there particular riffs when you pick up and you're just noodling and you're not paying attention?
To me, like, early Van Halen is like a Bible for me, and especially his feel. So there's some Van Halen licks that I work on from the first couple records. And some of the stuff we play live. I mean, we do Running with the Devil and Eruption live, and I find I don't dive right into it and try to sound like the record, but those licks make great warm-ups, and they have great, and I think they affect a lot of the other licks that I play. So I have my collection of Van Halen licks, although it's not the stock Van Halen licks that everybody quotes.
Right.
He has these other more subtle licks that I like to play.
Nice. So, and speaking of covers, that takes us to our last question. As we stated earlier, Metal Allegiance obviously sort of started out as an all-star cover band, if you will. You guys chose one cover for the album, the bonus track. How did you narrow it down to We Rock?
Well, we're all massive Dio fans. We wanted to represent somebody that everybody can agree on was a great. It came together with there were many meanings behind it. It also was approaching the 5th anniversary of Ronnie's passing.
Right.
And so no question we were going to do a Dio song, but we wanted one that to our knowledge, hasn't been covered.
Oddly enough, right?
Holy Diver has been covered. Stand Up and Shout, we were thinking of that, but then We Rock it was perfect, and it's just an anthem. It's a perfect anthem for this whole collective of people from different bands, different generations, newer bands, older bands, male, female, American, international, black, white, whatever. And it was perfect. This uniting song, and also Dio, he had done a song called Stars, which was sort of the hard rock, heavy metal We Are the World.
Right, I have that, yes.
Yeah, so it was a tribute to that as well. So it just made sense on all these levels. Nice. And it's just a great song.
Yeah, and Alyssa White Glues' performance on that one sort of gave me chills like Scabia's did.
Right, absolutely. And and at that point, we'd already exhausted our space for the original songs. But I definitely wanted her on this record. I think she's a very really exciting new voice in this music, and also when you hear her in Arch Enemy, which she does really well, it's this very it's just that style. Because people don't know she can really do melody. She can really do like pretty soaring melody. So it was just a chance for her to express that side as well.
Absolutely. Awesome. Alex, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time to talk with us. Thanks again for the show on St. Paddy's. We look forward to the new album, and I hope there will be another Metal Allegiance album as well.
There will be. All right. Thanks, Rustin.
Take care, my friend.